You don't want love. You want familiarity. That's why you keep choosing the same person in a different body. Because your nervous system isn't looking for love. It's looking for what feels familiar. And familiar, for many, means unfinished pain. What you call chemistry might just be trauma colliding. What you call fate might be the shadow reenacting a childhood wound. And unless you wake up to the script you're caught in, you'll keep casting the same roles, different names, same heartbreak. This isn't just about relationships. It's about the architecture of your unconscious. Carl Jung called it the individuation process, a sacred invitation to become whole. But the path begins where the pain lives, in your projections, your emotional memory, your karmic patterns. You're not broken. You're repeating. And behind every ghost lover, every toxic cycle, every why does this keep happening, there's a soul contract begging to be seen and released. In this video, you'll finally understand why you keep dating the same person, what your psyche is trying to resolve, and how to break the spell for good. Not by finding someone new, but by becoming someone different. Because healing isn't about moving on, it's about waking up. The unseen pattern. They think they're just unlucky in love, like fate has it out for them. But the truth is far more sobering. They're not cursed, they're caught. Repeating, attracting the same soul in different costumes, replaying the same heartbreak with a new playlist. Carl Jung would have called it individuation gone astray. The self trying to become whole, but lost in the script of unconscious repetition. It's not about the people they date. It's about the wound they refuse to face. Until they see that, they'll keep chasing ghosts of lovers past. See, the human mind is a brilliant trickster. It doesn't forget emotional memory. It loops it. That's why she keeps falling for someone emotionally unavailable, or why he's drawn to someone just like the mother who never saw him. Psychoanalysis reveals this as repetition compulsion, the psyche recreating the original wound, hoping this time it ends differently. It's like playing the same broken record hoping one day it'll heal itself. Without self-awareness, they're just actors stuck in someone else's tragic play. And here's the twist. It's not punishment, it's invitation. The shadow shows up in their lovers, not to torture them, but to reflect unmet needs, long-forgotten grief, or unlived parts of their inner life. Relationships become the stage for projection, and the anima or animus sneaks in through emotional attraction. The same fights, the same abandonment, the same toxic cycle. They're not coincidences. They're messages in disguise. Lessons that won't stop knocking until someone opens the door to their own conscience. Let me give you an example. A client once told me, "I swear, I date the same man every time. He just comes with different hair." And she wasn't wrong. Her relationship pattern mirrored a childhood dynamic, a karmic love dressed in modern clothes. She wasn't chasing a partner. She was chasing closure. When she began journaling through the triggers, mapping her emotional flashbacks, and reading works like The Eden Project or Owning Your Own Shadow, she saw it clearly. It wasn't about love. It was about the unresolved script playing out in her nervous system. The first step out? Awareness. Just awareness. It's the beginning of a new script. One where they're no longer unconscious participants in a pattern, but conscious authors of a different story. When someone finally sees that the heartbreaks were never random, that they were designed to wake them up, something shifts. They begin to question their own mind, their own archetypes, their own attraction. And right there, in that space of inner dialogue, the old spell starts to break, just enough to notice the projection it casts. Projection and the inner other. They don't fall in love with people. They fall in love with parts of themselves they've disowned. That's the wildest part. Jung nailed this when he spoke about the animus and anima, the unconscious inner other that lives inside every man and woman. We meet someone, feel fireworks, and swear it's fate, when really, it's our psyche saying, "Look, here's the piece of you you've forgotten. That soulmate pull? Often, it's just shadow projection wearing a charming disguise. And when we chase it blindly, we confuse reflection with reality. Every time someone feels that electric rush, the obsession, the fantasies, the emotional chaos, they might want to pause. What if it's not about them at all? What if the person is simply a mirror? A soul mirror reflecting back their unmet needs, their longing for wholeness, their buried self. Psychoanalysis calls this a transfer, the mind unconsciously placing its inner figures onto someone else. That's why we fall so hard for unavailable people. They reflect our own inner absence. Take relationships that feel like destiny, like something from a past life bond. They often follow the exact script of emotional addiction. At first, it feels like love, but quickly, the cracks show. The highs are too high, the lows too low. That's the sign. The projection is crumbling. And when we try to control or fix the other person, what we're really trying to fix is the pain we've ignored within. It's not about changing them. It's about meeting the parts of us we handed over to them unknowingly. So what to do? Start with simple shadow work. Instead of asking, why are they this way? Ask, why do I need them to be this way for me to feel enough? Read Romancing the Shadow or Jung's Ion if you want to go deeper. Write letters you never send. Pay attention to the qualities you admire or hate in someone. Those are breadcrumbs to the unconscious. That inner dialogue, when done consistently, begins to pull the projection back. It's subtle at first, but then the obsession fades and clarity enters. Here's the magic. When we reclaim our projection, we break the spell. Suddenly, they don't feel like the one anymore. They feel human, flawed, and somehow that feels freeing, because now the self can breathe. The mind stops chasing. The conscience settles. And in that stillness, a new kind of love becomes possible. Not driven by karma, but by awareness. Not seduced by fantasy, but anchored in reality. And yet, just when they think they're in the clear, the body remembers. Trauma bonding and emotional memory. It's not that they're addicted to the person, they're addicted to the feeling. That ache, that chaos, that emotional roller coaster, it's familiar. And in the twisted logic of the unconscious, familiar equals safe. Carl Jung would say their psyche is chasing a pattern, not a partner. When early attachment wounds go unhealed, the inner child becomes the one swiping, texting, falling. So it's not love. It's the body trying to finish an old story. One where this time, maybe the ending changes. Trauma bonding is sneaky like that. It doesn't show up waving red flags. It comes in as passion, intensity, chemistry. They say things like, but we can't stay away from each other. Yeah, because the human mind wires to what it knows. And when someone grows up in chaos, they often can't recognize peace. It feels boring, unfamiliar, even wrong. So instead, they chase partners who trigger their wounds, not realizing the pain isn't punishment. It's memory. Emotional memory, stored deep in the body. This is where emotional addiction kicks in. They know the relationship is toxic, but they can't leave. Why? Because the nervous system confuses drama with love. And breaking the bond feels like withdrawal, not just from the person, but from the illusion of healing through them. That illusion is rooted in unconscious attraction, the belief that if this person finally loves me, maybe I was lovable all along. It's a karmic loop dressed as romance, and breaking it feels like losing a part of yourself. So what helps? Awareness, yes, but also regulation. Learn how to sit with the craving without acting on it. Somatic practices like TRE, tension and trauma release exercises, or polyvagal-informed breathwork are lifesavers here. Journaling doesn't hurt either. Track your triggers, your spirals, your patterns. And don't underestimate the power of reading something like the body keeps the score. Because once they understand that the mind lies, but the body remembers, they stop blaming themselves and start investigating. And here's where it gets even trickier. Sometimes, the bond isn't just personal, it's ancestral. A spiritual contract signed long before this lifetime. Some loves are meant to wake them up, not to walk with them forever. But most people don't know how to tell the difference. They stay stuck trying to fix what was never meant to be permanent. And in that struggle, they forget, not all intensity is intimacy, and not all chemistry is connection. But when they learn the difference, karmic contracts and soul lessons, some connections hit different, not because they're meant to last, but because they're meant to shatter. These are the karmic bonds, the ones that feel like fate, pull like gravity, and burn like fire. Carl Jung might say they carry the weight of the unconscious, a soul-level mirror reflecting what we came here to remember. But here's the twist most people miss. The contract isn't about staying. It's about waking up. And sometimes, awakening feels like abandonment. They think it's love, but it's actually initiation. That relationship wasn't a mistake. It was a spiritual test, a setup orchestrated by the self to expose the shadow, surface the wound, and activate the path of individuation. The heartbreak? That's the ceremony. The tears? That's the baptism. Every argument, every trigger, every silent treatment, all of it served to reveal what still lives unhealed within. It's not punishment. It's preparation. The mind resists it, but the soul signed off on it long ago. When someone's trapped in a toxic cycle, it's tempting to romanticize the pain. Maybe it's twin flames, they say, clinging to the chaos. But not all twin flame stories are love stories. Most are cautionary tales. Emotional addiction masquerading as destiny. The anima or animus projected so intensely that people confuse recognition with reunion. But real soul connection doesn't chain you. It frees you. And if it keeps breaking you down instead of building you up, maybe it's not your forever. Maybe it's your mirror. To break the contract, they don't need closure from the other person. They need clarity from within. Start with self-inquiry. What am I repeating here? What am I still trying to prove? Meditate. Go deep. Read The Untethered Soul or Letting Go by David R. Hawkins. Write the goodbye letter you'll never send. Then burn it. Watch it turn to ash like the karmic illusion it was. Because when they stop chasing what hurt them, they stop repeating what broke them. And this is where it all shifts. When someone sees that love isn't about repeating patterns, but about remembering who they were before the wound, everything changes. The self begins to reorganize. The mind stops fixating. The emotional charge begins to dissolve. They start to live from the lesson, not the longing. And as they look around and realize they no longer crave what once controlled them, a quiet truth begins to rise. One that says healing isn't found in another. It's found in integration. Healing the pattern. Healing doesn't start with closure. It starts with courage. The courage to stop blaming others. The courage to face the self. To admit that maybe they weren't choosing love. They were choosing familiar suffering. And here's the thing. Once someone begins the inner work, the entire projection collapses. That fantasy they were chasing, it fades. Because the anima or animus can no longer hold them hostage when the self steps in. That's when individuation becomes real. Not just a concept, but a lived transformation. People attract not what they want, but who they are. It's a bitter pill, but also liberating. They attract from their level of healing, not their list of desires. So instead of asking, why do I always meet emotionally unavailable people? They start asking, where am I emotionally unavailable to myself? That shift in conscience changes everything. Now, every failed relationship becomes a breadcrumb, leading them inward. Every heartbreak, a lesson in the art of living. Every goodbye, a blessing in disguise. And look, breakups aren't failures. They're mirrors. They show who you became, who you forgot, and what still needs to be reclaimed. The human mind will scream, "Fix it, go back." But the soul whispers, "Integrate it, grow forward." Self-love isn't found in affirmations or bubble baths. It's found in radical honesty, in sitting with unmet needs without outsourcing them, in realizing that healing isn't sexy. It's gritty, awkward, and often lonely. But it's also where real love begins. So don't date, integrate. That's the new mantra. Stop using relationships as medicine. Use solitude as transformation. Build a life that feels like home so you stop seeking people who feel like danger. That means therapy, journaling, reading Jung, practicing inner dialogue, having long walks without music just to hear your own thoughts, even creating art from your heartbreak, poetry, dance, painting. All of it helps reclaim the parts you once projected onto someone else. Slowly, you become the one you were chasing. And then, one day, they'll meet someone, and it won't feel like chaos. It'll feel like calm. It won't trigger their shadow. It'll honor it. That's when they'll know they're no longer repeating. They're creating from a place of wholeness, not hunger, from a level of healing, not habit. But to get there, they had to break the cycle, to stop believing love was meant to hurt. And as they realize they're not here to find their other half, but to become whole within. They thought healing would look like finding the one. But now they know healing is becoming the one. The truth is, love isn't supposed to feel like survival. And once they stop chasing emotional ghosts and start listening to the self, everything shifts. The same people don't attract them anymore. The same stories don't seduce. The pattern no longer plays on repeat, because they've stopped dancing to the tune of their unconscious. So, let me ask you, what are you still calling love that's actually a trauma loop? What part of you still believes pain is proof of passion? And more importantly, are you ready to stop falling for what hurts you just because it feels like home? The answer isn't out there. It's in the parts of you you've abandoned. The unmet needs. The old grief. The mirror you keep mistaking for magic. Real love can't find you until you stop hiding from yourself. If this video cracks something open, good. That means you're ready. Ready to do the work, break the spell, and love from wholeness, not hunger. So go deeper. Ask the hard questions. Rewatch this video if you have to. And if you're serious about healing, subscribe and turn on the notifications. Because this is just the beginning, and what's coming next will change everything.